The other player that I wanted to talk about was one Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, according to Cameron Wolf, uh, is that he is going to be trending towards free agency since the Jaguars are going to plan on franchise tagging Josh Allen, not the quarterback. Uh, so with Calvin Ridley, he seems to me to be one of those guys that's a big name that never delivers, like ever. Like every year, so like he was on the Falcons where he was just not getting utilized, and then obviously he had suspension, and then he goes to the Jaguars, and it's like, oh, here we go. You know, Calvin Ridley is going to help activate that offense. He's going to help Trevor Lawrence develop into the league, and he just don't do anything. Like I can pull up his stats. His stats probably look good, but anybody who pays attention and follows the league, it's like it just feels like empty numbers. Like it's like, oh, you had 1,000 yards receiving. Great. I mean, whatever. Like, the suspension last year, or the injury, the year before that. Like, it's just guy can't stay on the field, and availability is the most important ability. Uh, and I don't know. I would not be interested. Now, for one, I don't want the Lions to be interested in any wide receiver. I think our wide receiver room is basically full. The only wide receiver I'd want them, if they're going to spend on a wide receiver, it's got to be like a third option. And hey, if they can get Calvin Ridley for like very small cash, and he's just basically your Josh Reynolds, maybe. But at that point, I would just draft a wide receiver. Like, just draft a wide receiver late, or draft a wide receiver in one of the later rounds. Maybe Antoine Green, who you drafted in the 7th round last year. Maybe he develops into something. Since now he might have something of a roster spot to gain. But either way, or you just bring back Josh Reynolds. I wouldn't mind either way. Like, our wide receiver room is fine. Anyways, as far as teams that would be interested in a wide receiver, the big name for me, the one that came up immediately as soon as I saw, was the Chiefs. I mean, for one, the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, so as far as they're concerned, it's high risk, or low risk, high reward. Like whatever. If they sign him and he stinks and he's not good, whatever. They just won a Super Bowl. They're not. There's not a huge amount of pressure on the Chiefs to go out and win something immediately again. Maybe Chiefs fans will feel differently, but as far as I'm concerned, as a non-Chiefs fan, you can take a little bit of risk, right? Like, you can be like, you know what? Yeah, we'll give Calvin Ridley a shot. Maybe we can figure something out with him. Obviously, he had something going for him in Atlanta in the late 2010s, and then injury, suspension, stuff like that. Things just didn't work out. And then obviously they're not working out in Jacksonville. Maybe you come in and it's a resurgence. It's a Marquez Valdez-Scantling situation, right? It's an MVS situation. But other teams, potentially, that could be interested, maybe the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they're probably going to be interested in upgrading that offense, getting a wide receiver. Calvin Ridley, a vet of this league, certainly can't hurt, right? I mean, the Jags already stole Christian Kirk from them. Maybe go ahead and steal Calvin Ridley from them. I don't know. You know, maybe a team like the Raiders. I don't know. There's a lot of options with a big name receiver like him. But Calvin Ridley, again, I talked about it with Taquan. He feels like he could be a Cowboy. I mean, like, I don't want to be like, because one of the things this is slightly unrelated. I don't like when in baseball, anytime a free agent is available, everyone's like, oh, well, the Dodgers are interested. It's like, well, yeah, they spend $1 gazillion every year. The Cowboys are similar, where it's like every time there's a free agent, oh, well, maybe the Cowboys are interested. It's like, well, yeah, their owner is insane. Like, of course they're interested. It doesn't matter who they are. But could they actually bite the bullet a little bit on Calvin Ridley? And again, it's low risk, high reward. Because if Calvin Ridley is the player that he was in, let's just say 2020, where he was, second team All Pro and 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, 65 first downs, 91 yards per game. You're going to get yourself a solid wide receiver at that point. Right? You're going to get yourself just an absolute dog. And I mean, I think he still has that potential. He's going to be entering his year 30 season, though. So, it's a risk, but some teams are going to be willing to take that risk. I do think that the Chiefs are probably going to be in the mix for this. I do. Other teams, I'm not so sure. Again, maybe you look at the Packers. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know if they're going to go after him. Maybe the Bills, if they don't, if Steph Diggs moves along, maybe they decide to grab wide receiver and Calvin Ridley. I don't know. I think there's probably more. I just really feel strongly the Chiefs are going to go after this guy. I really do. So every other team that I hear, it's like, I don't know. There's just something about it. It just seems like he's a Kansas City Chief, and maybe I'm gonna, eat my words, but it's just how I feel. It's just how it seems to me. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.